Joining me now is Texas Democratic Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kristen. I'm glad to be with you.
Well, we're really glad to have you. Let's start with your event with Leader Jeffries today. Both of you saying, look, there are a lot of ways to fight this new map. I'm curious, what do you think is the best strategy? How do you see this fight playing out?
Well, I think there are a couple of things, Kristen, and I'm really glad that you're covering this because one thing that I said earlier today, and it's hugely important, is that people need to know what's happening. And the governor just added this issue to a call for a special session of the legislature. Our legislature had already adjourned for the year. They meet every 2 years, and they were done. So he's called them back for a special session, and he did it after the terrible flooding in the Hill Country here in Texas. He added it about 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks now, and a lot of Texans don't even know this is happening, right? And so part of what we need to do is make sure people know, because what we're seeing is that when people know, they are speaking out. There have been field hearings in Houston, in Dallas. There's a hearing in Austin, and there have been thousands of Texans showing up to show their opposition. And I thought it was interesting what Jeremy Wallace just said, that a lot of people are speaking, but it's not the Republicans. But even the Republicans I've seen who've testified don't like it. That's citizens, not elected officials. So making sure people know is important. And then our friends in the Texas legislature have a lot of different tools. We need to make sure that every option's on the table and that they are able to make the right decisions of how to respond on the floor in real time as this process moves very quickly.
Yeah, it sure is moving quickly. There's so much focus on Texas, but some Democrats are also looking outside of Texas to counter those maps. I want to play what Democratic lawyer Mark Elias said yesterday and get your reaction on the other side.
If they take 5 seats, we're going to put 30 seats on the table. Right? Because they need to understand that there will not just be parity if things go against them. When people say to me, you know, don't bring a knife to a gunfight, I don't even want to bring a gun to a gunfight. You know, I want to bring something more than a gun to the gunfight, right? I want to bring missiles to the gunfight.
Congresswoman, do you agree with him? Do you want to see Democratic-leaning states use the same tactics as Governor Abbott and Texas Republicans?
Well, I think, you know, I would prefer for Texas not to be doing this, but we don't get to live in a world of what we would like to be happening. We have to operate in the world of what is happening. And what we see is that Texas, despite the objection of Texans, is moving forward very quickly with this plan. And so I do agree with Mark Elias and with Attorney General Holder that we cannot fight a different fight. We cannot be doing things under different sets of rules. And that's what we've set up here. And so I do think it's important for us to engage meaningfully at this moment and also think about long-term reform, because what you see is Democratic states have implemented fair maps, have implemented independent commissions, have done all kinds of things for fairness, and states like mine have not. And so it's not a fair fight right now, and the stakes are too high, because what we have to remember is this affects everyone in the country. Certainly it affects Texans and our representation, but who controls the U.S. House of Representatives affects everyone. And you see the kind of terrible, disastrous policies that President Trump is afraid of being voted on at the ballot box next November and flipping control of the House because people don't like what they're doing. People also don't like politicians picking their voters instead of voters picking their elected officials. And that's exactly what's happening. And so we have to be able to respond to that meaningfully. And we can't do it unless we're playing by the same set of rules. So I don't want Texas to do this, and I think they can stop. But if they forge ahead with this, there have to be consequences.
Even though, Congresswoman, you did say that what's happening with Texas redistricting is what's wrong with politics. I hear what you are saying, but given that you're saying, look, this is fundamentally what is broken with our politics, do you not have pause or concern about Democrats taking the same tactics elsewhere?
Well, my concern is what we're seeing happening in the United States House of Representatives right now. And over the last 6 months, you have seen President Trump consolidating power in the White House. You've seen congressional Republicans handing it over to him, rubber stamping whatever he wants. You see this administration openly defying and talking about defying the courts. You see terrible policies being implemented, centralization of power, and now they're trying to take the power away from our states to draw our own congressional districts, to get a map handed down from the White House. So I am deeply concerned that if we can't respond in this moment, we can't implement the kind of policies long term that we want. As Attorney General Holder said, and others have said, we have a lot of ideas about how to do this better, but we can't get there unless we fight back right now.
Well, let me get your reaction to something that we saw from California Governor Gavin Newsom. He posted just yesterday, quote, Donald Trump asks for 5 seats and Greg Abbott automatically bends the knee. The 2026 election is being rigged. California won't sit back and watch this happen. Your reaction, Congresswoman, do you agree with him that the 2026 election is being rigged and basically borrowing that language from President Trump?
Well, I certainly think that they are trying to change the rules of the game. And what you see here in Texas is a good example of how what they're doing is wrong, because they are silencing the voices of a huge majority of Texas voters. In Texas, we know that there are 38 congressional districts. Right now, 25 are controlled by Republicans and 13 are controlled by Democrats. And of those districts, what you see is the state is usually votes kind of not quite 50-50, but maybe 55-45. And so we're already underrepresented. And in Texas, the map is the worst racial gerrymander in the country. They are systematically suppressing the voices of minority voters in my community here in Houston and across the state. And so when we see that that is what's going on, when we see that they're trying to make it hard for the people who don't agree with the president to meaningfully cast their ballots, to actually affect the outcome by reducing the number of districts they control, then you are, however you want to call it, you are determining who's going to go to Congress, not based on what the people want, but on what you want. And that's wrong. There's no doubt about it. And Governor Newsom has been very clear, and I appreciate his leadership. I appreciate all of those who look at the big picture and understand what's happening here. Because in this moment, we are in a crisis in this country. This is an assault on our democracy. And we see the assault on constitutional authority, on the separation of powers, on the judiciary. And now we're seeing it on our state's ability to draw our own maps and to send the people that we want to send to Congress. It's already challenging enough in Texas, but taking away 5 Democratic seats out of 13 so that President Trump can keep Republicans in control of the House of Representatives, and so that they can keep passing his agenda and he doesn't have to face accountability for his actions or for his policies, that's not okay.
Congresswoman, we're totally out of time, but yes or no, do you think that the 2026 election, given all of that, is being rigged?
Well, I certainly think that they are trying to control the outcome through the redistricting process, and that is not good for Texans or any Americans.
All right, Congresswoman Fletcher, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kristen.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.